And welcome to the, what is it, March? The March webinar for Seller Labs, Amazon PPC spring cleaning. It's a great day. It's cold and blustery here in Chicago. How's the weather there in Athens?
Pretty warm and trying to rain, but just being really annoying with like some sprinkling every now and then. Nothing too crazy, honestly.
Awesome. So we're starting out with a poll question. We want to know who cleans your house, right? Do you hire somebody? Do you do it yourself? Do you have your partner do it? How do you get that house cleaned? We're going to be diving into PPC spring cleaning. It's a great time to really get out and move things around, right? This is one of those cleanings that's not like your daily cleaning of coming through and just dusting. This is like actually let's move something and clean underneath it.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me figure out how to stop the poll. Let's see. Do I stop the poll or I just keep going? I think I just keep going. Okay. Great. So the chat is on the right side of your screen. We'll be watching your questions along the way. We'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. For those that don't know me, my name is Jeff Cohen. Been in the e-commerce space since about 2005 when I started a textbook site called textbooks.com. Been working with Seller Labs since 2012. Been all over the world speaking about Amazon, and happy to share some of these tips with you today. And my co-host for the day is none other than Ed PPC Ruffin. He is going to introduce himself.
Yes, so how's it going, everybody? Most of you know me as PPC Ed. I also go by Edward Ruffin. That's my real name. And I've been working with Seller Labs for about 4 years now. A huge advertising nerd. I am fully intrigued by advertising and marketing, and I think Amazon has one of the best platforms for that. So I learn something new every day about it and dive right into it. We can't wait to talk about it with you guys today and really help you guys get things under control, because lots of people come to us a lot and say they can't handle it or things are running rampant, and now is the time to get it back to where it should be and get it clean again.
Yeah, and we're going to answer questions at the end, so go ahead and throw them in the box. While Ed, while he's kind of walking through our agenda for the next half hour to hour, depending on how many questions we have, I got one other poll question for you. Just looking to see how often or when was the last time you actually did a deep dive audit of your advertising campaign? So not just going in there to do some work, but really looking at your campaigns, how they're structured, what's working, what's not. So Ed, why don't you go take us through our agenda for today?
Yeah, so as we said already, it is time for some spring cleaning, guys. You know, here in the South, spring and summer kind of feel like the same thing, but it's still time to clean up. Time to get all your ads optimized and ready for the future. So first is going to be organizing your priorities and your goals, really knowing what you want out of your advertising. Then next is going to be cleaning up, cleaning up your existing campaigns, diving in, seeing what's working, seeing what's not working. And then we're going to go to the purge step, which is really where you're getting rid of what's not really necessary any longer, what you don't really need inside those campaigns. And then number 4, we're going to strategize for forward growth. What are we going to do in the future, and how can we achieve those goals in the future with ease? And then we have a bonus, which is a campaign deep dive. That's going to be awesome for everybody. So stick around for that part, especially. Don't miss that.
Awesome. So, this is something that you and I started really talking about Amazon advertising pretty heavily back in like 2016. I think we started like recording some videos around this. And what's really interesting about Organize is that it's a fundamental piece that we've been talking about for 3.5 to 4 years that a lot of Amazon sellers still get wrong. And so let's talk a little bit about organization and how organization can drive your goals.
Yeah, so organizing is my favorite step. I have a little bit of OCD when it comes to advertising, but it's really just a way of building a good foundation for understanding what you want to get out of your ads. And just like this picture says, is don't panic because it seems like a lot at once. Instead, organize your thoughts, your goals, understand what you want to gain from your advertising, and then you can move forward with ease. You don't want to just jump into it and hope for the best. You want to know what you want to get out of it to begin with.
Oh, that's for me to click, right? Okay, I got it.
So this is one thing that I really want to point out to everybody is don't advertise just to advertise. Don't think you just have to do it because everybody else is doing it and you just need to get in there. Part of that is true. You do need to advertise to get the space and to get the traction and the conversions on Amazon nowadays. But don't just start ads to start ads. Understand what you want to gain from those ads first. We can go to the next slide. So to begin with, the first thing is, do you want more traffic? Are you just looking to get more traffic in general on Amazon? Or are you looking to be more aggressive in your category? Are you looking to take over some placements, looking to get top placement or just take over some of your competition, honestly? And another one is, do you really need to just reduce your ACoS and your tacos? Are you just looking at some of your metrics that have gone pretty crazy and you want to bring those back down? And then finally, are you just simply looking to finally get some ads right? Like, if that's the case, that's okay too. But you have to go into advertising knowing what your goals are, knowing what you want to get out of it, and knowing where you want to be a few months from now. And this is what we ask all of our new clients that come to us. We have a call and we straight up say, hey, what are you looking to gain from this experience? What do you want to get out of your advertising? Just let us know. We can help you achieve that. But we can't just advertise to advertise. We have to be on the same page together to know what the end goal is going to be.
Great. Well, some people say you speak fast. I don't think you're speaking too fast, but we'll ask him to slow down just a little bit sure that people that are taking notes can catch everything. There will be a recording, so you will get a recording of this. And I think that if you want more detail on what Edward just talked about, it's actually a full-blown webinar in and of itself. So Caroline can post a link to the blog article that has the replay from the last webinar that we did. And in the last webinar that we did, I think it was called Taco Tuesday. And with Taco Tuesday, what we found was that we're able to identify between tacos and ROAS and ACoS and identify all the different goals that you can set and how to set each one of those. So Ed, just real quickly, because it was just asked, like, can you explain, he wanted to know, does tacos include organic sales versus like ACoS and which one does and does not?
Yeah, this is a wonderful question. Love that people are focusing on tacos instead. Huge tacos fan myself, actually. But yeah, so when you're looking at them, ACoS is looking at how much you spent on advertising in comparison to what you got out of your advertising, just an ad revenue. So it's your ad spend in comparison to your ad revenue. Your tacos is looking at how much you spent in advertising in comparison to all of your sales, not just your ad sales, but your organic sales as well. So yes, tacos includes organic sales and paid sales that are put together for your overall sales for your account. And this is great because you can focus on ACoS, but really want to see your tacos go down because it's showing that your advertising is influencing your overall sales on Amazon, going forward. You're getting more sessions, you're getting more conversions that are being influenced by your advertising as well.
Okay, I'm gonna also ask, just because one other person commented too, check the gain on your mic and just make sure your levels are set right there. All right, so what you're seeing here is a screenshot from our Ignite tool. Our Ignite tool is our advertising portion of our Seller Labs Pro offering, and within that we give you all of that data that is just raw within Seller Central, providing it to you in a more graphical format, allowing you to break it down by campaign or by grouping, and being able to see the different ACoS, tacos, and return on ad spend. But again, it's a big detailed conversation in and of itself. And there's a link in the chat that can get you more specific details specifically on that.
Yeah.
Great. So now that we kind of understand the goals, walk us through how we take those goals and we use them to advertise.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite things is, once you know what your end goal needs to be, then you know how to work towards it. So just as simple as it says, once you understand your goals, you can work towards them. So first of all, If you're just looking to get more traffic, first of all, you can start new ads. You can be more competitive with your bids. You can try new campaign types. And then also one that actually one of my colleagues, Chase, talked to me about today that really should be on this is aiming for a higher ACoS. Maybe you can't have really good traffic with an ACoS of 5%. Maybe you should push it up to 20% or so. Of course, that depends on exactly what type of product you're selling and what category, but you may want to increase your ACoS for a new product launch so you can get more traffic. And yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was gonna say Larry's thumbing down that recommendation. And I'll tell you, okay, so the thing that's difficult anytime we put an event together is that we have to give you kind of the different ways you can do things. And what you have to understand is that some things work for some people and other things don't. And so your category, your competitiveness, your budget, all of those things go into which of these recommendations will work for you compared to a recommendation that worked for somebody else. And so we work with over 100 clients where we manage their ads for them. And every one of them has a different set of rules used to manage their campaign. We don't manage them all with one single set of rules. And so what we're bringing to you is the different ideas that we put when we're looking at a campaign with a client, when we look at a set of goals that a client is trying to achieve. There are opportunities. That raising your spend actually decreases your ACoS. And we've gone into detail before on this, but what you do is you look at your product, at your conversion based on ad placement report. And by looking at that, when your ads are at the top of the page, do they convert higher when they're at the bottom of the page? Mm-hmm. So before you just go spend more money on ACoS to raise your ACoS, understand what type of action you're trying to get from it. And so if your conversion data indicates that top of placement ads perform from a conversion perspective at a higher rate, then that's where bidding more could totally make sense.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, ACoS does vary across all the accounts, all the categories. Everything is, kind of different for everybody. But yeah, so some of the other things you can do, if you're looking to simply you just need to get your ACoS and tacos more aligned, you need to get them closer to their goals. I really want to harp on this first one. This is something I say all the time. We're going to talk about this later too, but create a steady optimization process. We're going to circle back to this, but this is something huge that really all successful accounts have in place. They have an optimization process set up. Many also want to cut down on that wasted ad spend that's just not working. Don't hold out and hope for the future and say one day it'll convert. If the data is not showing the conversion, go ahead and cut it. And also follow the data, guys. Really dive into your campaigns, your auto targeting especially, and find out what's working, what's not working, move things over from the auto to the manual, take advantage of that to lead to more sales and really invest in what's already working for your account. And if you're just looking to get your ads up and running, first of all, love it, do it, take advantage of that. One of my favorite things is starting new ads for a client or a brand. It's really fun. You want to start with a strong strategy. Just like we said earlier, have a good foundation. Have something built out that can scale, and understand that you may have to optimize and tweak this going forward. You also want to research your competitors. Don't go into this blind. Understand what they're doing, what they're ranking for, what their listings look like, what keywords they may be going after as well. And then on top of that, test your listings by using an auto-targeting campaign. Run an auto-targeting campaign and see if you're actually, indexing for the terms that are showing up on your listing.
Okay, so I'm going to share some data. I hadn't planned to put this in the presentation, so that's why I have it, but I can't actually put it on the screen. We work with an accountant. His name's Tyler Jeffcoat. He runs a company called Seller Accountant. He's written numerous blogs on our website. He recently did a study. He looked at over $100 million worth of Amazon sales. And here's what's really interesting about it, because I'm getting a lot of questions about, well, what should my taco be? What should my ACoS be, right? So when looking at across the whole $100 million in sales. He broke it into two groups: private label, brand owners, and wholesale resellers, right? Let's focus on the brand owners first. For brand owners, typically their taco was average across the $100 million was 8.6%. So overall advertising as a function of all other spend was about 8.5%. When you look at that for wholesalers and retailers, it's about 1.4. Now, I would argue, and I believe that 8.6 could be high or it could be low. So you have to then look at what we call operating profit. So how much money are they actually making with that advertising that they're spending? Mm-hmm. And so the private brand that's at 8.6% is still netting a 12% operating profit. The retailer who's got the 1.4% taco is operating at a 3.8% operating profit. So understanding your numbers and understanding what it looks like for you to be at one end of the spectrum or the other helps you to start to identify what your goals should be. Now, like any good data, we have to look at the top, because the top typically represents, right, the 80-20 rule. When you break that down, the Amazon advertising still represents 7.2% of the overall spend. So when you're trying to figure out what does your taco need to look like, that's a good explanation and understanding of a benchmark in our industry. We don't have a lot of benchmarks in our industry. So that's a good benchmark in our industry for you to be looking at and thinking about. Now, once you understand your taco or your A cost, you can come into a tool like Ignite and you can publish your A cost into our tool. And that starts to drive recommendations and suggestions based off of the number you're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. And so if you're one of these people that wants to try to do it all on your own, totally great. You can download the stuff from Seller Central. You can do bulk file reports. You can upload them. If you're somebody that wants to be kind of guided along the way, you can use a tool like Ignite. You can set targets. You can get recommendations. And if you're somebody that wants to hire somebody else to clean your house, you can do that as well. And that's what Ed and his team do. So you have the option of attacking these problems however you best see fit, of what's going to work for you and your business, the amount of profit that you're driving, the number of sales that you're driving, and the target goals that you're trying to achieve. All right, so we have some goals set. We're now ready to get up and clean our existing campaigns.
Yes. This is where the fun happens.
Yep. This is where we start making money.
Exactly. This is where you actually take advantage of what you already have as data, and just always remember, wasted ad spend adds up fast. If you have just one day of data, you have a couple weeks of data. If you're just sleeping on it and not optimizing it and diving into those existing campaigns, that wasted ad spend adds up really fast. It stacks on top of itself, and it really becomes a lot of money you could be using somewhere else, or you could be reinvesting that back into, your advertising. How about that? So this is how you really want to go through and clean up those ads.
Oh, that's click. I got it. Go.
So one of the first things is you've got to dive in and find out exactly what is costing you money. This is something where it's not just going to be a one-time deep dive, everybody. This is going to be something where you stay on top of it. Even with our team, we're looking back, 14 days, we're going to go back and look back at 30 days of data, and 60 days, 90 days even. But this is where we really want to make sure you're looking back at as much data as possible. This isn't just your normal optimization process that you might do every week. This is looking back even further to see, okay, what has never made a sell? What have I been spending money on that has never made a sell that I can cut out? Then develop a process and stay on top of it going forward, guys. If at all possible, optimize your campaigns multiple times a week. That's exactly what we do. We go through every campaign, every account, multiple times a week. We have one day where we're actually doing bid adjustments. One day we're doing keyword negations. One day we're doing keyword transfers from auto to manual. we're setting these actually on a calendar to make sure we know what's happening when and when the next round of optimizations is going to happen. But one thing I want to say on this is notice how we're doing bid optimizations one day, keyword transfers the next day. We're not looking at the same data too often. We're not adjusting bids every single day. We're allowing more data to build up, so then when we go back in, we're optimizing again. So this way we're staying on top of it, we have a process in place, and we're not missing anything.
So I get that, and I this is a big question that I know is asked often. When I find a keyword that's not that's costing me clicks and it's not driving any sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at some type of spend with no conversions, right? And I start looking at that data. Am I automatically discounting this? Am I negativing? Am I creating negative keywords on this? Like, what am I actually doing? I mean, I've only spent 50 cents. Is that enough for me to truly make a decision on this keyword, or am I looking for things that, I mean, this is kind of, in some cases, this is what we call death by 1,000 cuts, right? So you look at it and you say 50 cents, but you've got 200 words costing you 50 cents. You just spent $100. So it's, how do you guys kind of look at that and decide, how much ad spend and what do you do with those keywords?
So we take it on an account by account basis. And this goes out to everybody out there, okay? Because if someone's advertising on Amazon, they may have an average cost per click of 50 cents. But someone in a more competitive market can have an average cost per click of $5. It could be a lot more. So in that case, we look at the actual spend. We look at things that have $10 with no conversions, depending on what date range we're looking at. But we also keep in mind what the average cost per click is for that client or for that account that we're working with. So we can know, okay, if their average cost per click is $5, that means, $10 is just going to be 2 clicks sometimes. So we want to be careful with that. But it's also using that kind of just deep dive to look and see what doesn't make sense. Like when you're looking at search terms, if you're seeing erroneous search terms that have nothing to do with your product, they don't make any sense at all, you can negate those. If you see keywords that you think you should be converting for, like if I saw an apple slicer and I have apple slicer as a keyword and it's just not converting, I may still want to show up for that, even if it's not converting possibly, because I know one day I'll get a sell for that. So instead of pausing that keyword or something, instead, I might just lower the bid instead, so I'm getting more control over how much I'm spending on that keyword. That way I'm still being defensive, but I'm not wasting as much money going forward for those clicks that are not converting. Yeah. So we do look at a lot of things, but the biggest thing I say is spend, and clicks, of course, are the biggest thing, sometimes, in combination together. But keep in mind how much you're spending for one click and how much that costs, and then look at how much that spend is going to cost for a particular keyword or search term.
Yeah, I think you got to look at the total amount of wasted ad spend and then decide, is this if you're spending, if your wasted ad spend is $100 and your total budget is 10,000, that's a lot different than if your wasted ad spend is $100 and your total ad spend is $1,000. So a lot of this becomes relative. Okay, so we understood wasted ad spend and starting to clean up the campaigns. Talk about kind of how else I guess you kind of covered this a little bit. So let me just kind of show people some of the features that are built into Ignite that kind of cover this as well. So if you don't want to be going into Seller Central and constantly looking at data, having to download the bulk reports, you can take advantage of the email notification, which comes out to kind of tell you what's happening, the budget management, and then some of the automation that's built into the tool. And then the automation built into the tool can either be recommendations where we're just telling you what we think you can do, or they can actually be bid adjustments where our system, when it hits certain criteria, are making adjustments to you. And so our criteria is what we use is called importance and confidence. And so the importance is how important is this? Like how much is going to impact your account? Whereas the confidence is our statistical representation of the data and how much data do we have. So as we get more data, we feel more confident in the decision that we're getting ready to make. And if you're building your confidence in a recommendation engine, we always recommend that you run it manually for some period of time. You go in and you look at it and you manually review your suggestions, and then you build automation. And later, when you have an understanding of, oh, every time I see something over 80%, I always accept it. Great. I'll just start to automate those and not worry about them.
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about purging now.
Oh yeah.
Because that's because this is when the goodwill starts to get all the stuff from your house that you don't want.
So purging is very necessary when it comes to advertising. And I say this because there are lots of people that do kind of hoard, keywords and search terms. They keep them around for a long time.
Yeah, actually, I saw this question in the box. Like somebody was saying, like, haven't touched my campaigns in 2 years. What do I do?
Exactly. And this happens, because advertising can be a little tricky just because you're constantly looking at different date ranges. You're kind of waiting to see if one cell makes up for so many clicks. But really, you just have to kind of bite the bullet and cut things out. So when you purge things, it allows your campaigns to kind of breathe, and you can reinvest that wasted ad spend that you've seen before back into what's working inside your campaign. So we'll get to the next slide, Jeff.
One more.
Well, no, this is really it. Like, it feels good to clean. This is something that we do with all of our new clients that come in. We do go through, we optimize what is already there while our new campaigns are starting up, and this gives us better results. So one thing that you want to keep in mind is to dive into your data. Like I said earlier, we're looking back at longer periods. This isn't just doing your normal 14-day optimizations or 7-day optimizations. We're looking back 60, 90 days, even longer if you're using a tool like Ignite, because it will save that data going forward. So we have people that will look back over the past year for some of our clients and see exactly what has converted or what is just wasted money. It may not have been caught during a 14-day period, but then we look back at like a 90-day period, we see that this keyword has 10 clicks and no conversions over that period. Now we can finally pause it, or we can negate it if we need to. And guys, don't just turn off your ads. This is, kind of a quick fix for a lot of people, but it's not really fixing anything. Instead, lower bids on things that are not converting.
That was brought to you by Amazon. The Don't Turn Off Your Ads was sponsored by Amazon Advertising.
And I'm not being paid to say that either.
But why it's important is because it's easy. I guess if you're looking for advertising to be easy, then the easy thing is to go, it's not working, turn it off. But advertising isn't easy. And so you have to play and you have to experiment. And one of the really early concepts we talked about in advertising many years ago was this idea that advertising is a mixture of art and science. And it's not just all science and it's not all art, right? So a great question came up. It was like, okay, I'm bidding on key terms, but when the brand is involved in the key term, it doesn't seem to convert as well. So do I negate Tom's natural toothpaste, Crest natural toothpaste, or do I just do a negative for the broad Tom's or the broad Crest? And I mean, my opinion would be in this particular case, my opinion would be probably just broad the brand term. If you find that the brand term doesn't do well and you don't want the brand term involved in any part of the keyword. So you have to understand how broad, phrase, and exact work to determine which part of it you want to make negative. Because if the brand's not selling and you're not the brand and people are looking for the brand and they're not going to buy you, then just negative the brand. And so that's where it's like, okay, that's a little bit more of the art to this versus the science, which says that keyword isn't working.
Right. Exactly. So you have to kind of know when you want to lower bids, for some things that may have conversions, but it's costing a little too much. The A cost is a little high, but it has historically converted. You may just want to lower bids there. For negating terms, this is more for things that have not worked at all, or it's just things that are irrelevant to what your product is. Like if I sell an apple slicer and orange peeler shows up or something like that, I may want to negate that. And then pausing unprofitable ad groups and keywords. This is more where something we've tested it out, it has not worked. It's a keyword we're actually going after, but it hasn't converted for us. we may just pause that instead. And this allows us to always turn it back on every time if we need to. But if we have enough data backing it up, just like Jeff says, we can kind of see the science behind it and know if it is time to turn it off or not.
All right, so now let's talk about strategy.
Yeah.
So now we've got all this. Walk me through, how do we move forward?
So strategy is one of my favorite words of all time, I think. I have lots of favorite words. I like words in general. I talk a lot. But strategy is still one of the biggest things that I think comes into play when you're talking about advertising. Just like I said before, you have to know your goals when you're advertising because you can't just go into it blindly. But once you have goals, you have to have a strategy about how to achieve those goals. You can't, once again, just advertise to advertise. So simply put, you always want to prepare your ads for the future. You want to prepare them to, scale outwards, to add new products so you can know where things are advertised and where you can move things over time. So you have to understand, not like you don't want to make ads for this hour. You want to make them for the future going forward. So make sure they scale in such a sense of where if you look at a strategy that you built out for any person, even if I jump into Jeff's account, I can say, okay, cool. Where are each of these products advertised? And I know exactly where each product is, what ad group, and I can see what keywords or search terms are working for those products. And like I said, don't create campaigns for now. Leave room for new products or items that are not yet advertised. If you're starting off with a select few of just your top sellers, for instance, leave some room so you can add more ad groups and products to things you want to advertise in the future. Or if you have a product launch coming, keep that in mind. Don't just make one giant campaign and just throw everything in there, hoping that you can figure it out later on.
Yeah. So this is something we've done other webinars on, and this is something that you've spoken on stage about. And I think like one of the things that if you get this part right, okay, it takes a lot of time out of all of the other stuff that you do. That's what's really important. And so,
Bless you.
thank you. If this is important, and I want you to go through an example here, because I think this is where people get confused about this process and understanding, what they should be doing. So walk through this process.
Yeah. And so I will say, guys, this is just one example. There's different types of ways to strategize products, but this is just one example. This is for someone that sells linens. So this is how you set up an auto-targeting campaign, for instance, where I have my auto-targeting campaign, then I have one ad group that has my dinner napkins. I have one set of dinner napkins that I'm selling. I have one ad group that is just called dinner napkins, and it advertises my dinner napkins. And then I have the search terms coming off of that, so it shows me exactly what search terms are driving that traffic for my dinner napkins. Not any other products, just my dinner napkins. Then I have another ad group for the tea towels, and this advertises just my tea towels, so I can see what search terms are driving traffic for that. This way, the search terms are not being mixed up, they're not crossing over, they're not, driving the wrong type of traffic or showing the wrong ad for the wrong product. This is a clean approach. And the best part about this is you can actually mirror this approach. Jeff, if you go to the next slide, only one thing changes, and it's just the name of the campaign. You can make the manual campaign the exact same way. So they're mirrored. So then that way, if you find a search term that's working well in the auto, you can move it over to the manual as a keyword. And that allows you to target that term a little heavier. You can control the spend, you can get better placement, and you know that that term has worked before because it did really great in the auto targeting campaign. And now you have an opportunity to really double down on it in that manual campaign too.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna flip back through these just one more time so you see like the campaign setup between these is no different. This is an auto campaign and this is a manual campaign. And when you name these linen manual campaign, linen auto campaign, what it allows you to do as you're moving your keywords, and so this is how you move keywords inside of Ignite, is you say I'm taking, now this was, to protect the innocent, some of this was blocked out, but it would say keyword exact match for linen towels. And I'm going to move it to the campaign of linen manual and the ad group of linen manual. And you can have one campaign that's for manual and one for auto. And so you're moving it from one to the other. And you always know that your manual, your keywords are moving from the auto campaign to the manual, and you know what they're associated to and how they're associated. Now, how you ultimately build your naming convention will change based off of the number of products you have or the number of categories that you have or something like that. But it's an opportunity for you to build a structure that can grow over time. So the question asked earlier was, what do I do? I just took over a campaign. I'm going to find this in the notes. Said I just took over a campaign inside Seller Central. Do I need to start over, or can I use what's there? And I would say that the first thing I would look at, if I was doing that, the first thing I would look at is I would look at the data of the account, right? So is the campaign performing at above or at an average level? And then I would look at the structure of the campaign. Is it something that I can continue to manage? Ed, if I was going to ask you, how many campaigns do you got, like when you get a new client, how many campaigns do you restructure? Like what % of campaigns need to ultimately go through a restructure?
I'd say about 95%.
And why?
Because it's something where even if it has great data, if we understand, what's worked, that can still be extracted. But if we can't find products, if we can't find a place for a keyword to go, that's when it becomes a problem. Like if we have a winning search term and we're like, cool, we got this search term for these tea towels, we know what works. Now we have to find where the tea towels are advertised so we can put it there. And then we see that the tea towels are in a campaign of one ad group that also sells apple slicers and tea kettles as well. It's just all over the place. And it's hard to figure out how we can target that specific product with the keyword that works for that product.
Yeah. And so how do your clients react to that? Do they typically, are they apprehensive about that? Like, because I feel like there's a natural apprehension to don't change my campaign. I don't want to reorganize. I don't want my data to start over. Like what's the reaction that people get?
Most people actually just tell us that they're looking forward to it, honestly. It used to be a little different. I think things are kind of changing where people realize that a good structure and a good strategy is the base of success. And we can still use that existing data that's already in those campaigns. We can extract those keywords and we can find out exactly what's working and we can add it to our new campaigns.
Okay. So in general, people are up for it. Great. So this is, I think, everyone, the spring cleaning checklist of what we kind of went over. And it's kind of, if you want to have something on the side of your desk that is a reminder of the 4 steps that you should be thinking about when looking at your campaigns, is, start with the organization of your goals and your priorities. Understand exactly what those are. Get into cleaning up your existing campaigns, right? So get into your cleanup mode. Part of your cleanup mode needs to also be your process of how you're going to be looking at different things. Purge what's not necessary. Go ahead and dump things that aren't there, that weren't relevant from before. And then create the strategy for going forward. Understand how you're going to be looking at this data on a regular basis. Understand how you're going to build a cadence for continual optimization. And if you do all of these things, you'll set yourself up for a nice spring and have a nice set of clean campaigns to move forward. Right. So now I want to go into the campaign deep dive and the bonus that we are offering here today. And so if you were on our last webinar, we offered this and we got a tremendous response. And so we wanted to bring this back and offer it again on this webinar. And so what we do with every client, well, you know what? Why don't you tell people, what do you do? What do you do when you get this data from a client? And how does this type of data help you help a client be more successful in advertising? And mind you, this is whether they do business with us or not. We're offering this assessment to you.
Well, I mean, first of all, this assessment is beautiful. It makes the data way easier to read and understand. And it really pinpoints where the problems are. And it's actually able to be manipulated live when we're talking to the customer or the client coming through. We can just talk to them about this and be honest and say, hey, we see this issue, we see this going on. Have you ever thought about doing this? Or is this an idea that you're comfortable with? So it really helps us pinpoint what's working, what's not working. And we can really dive into it and break things out and show it to them as well and give them transparency about their own advertising.
Yeah, and so you'll see like on the third one with all the different colors, you know, the more red it is, the worse it, you know, you're looking at color representation to tell you when something's really good or really bad. And so you have all of this data inside Amazon, and it comes from just a single report, right? So this is all coming from just one single report that gives you an ability to truly look at all of your business, to understand how it's working and to understand which ASINs are working or which groups of ASINs are working. Where are you overspending your money? How are your headline search ads, sponsored brand ads? Sorry, you think I'd be over that by now. Your sponsored brand ads doing, giving you an opportunity to see how keyword and targeting is working within your ads. And if you kind of thought that was cool and think that's an assessment, it's something we're offering for free. So I'm going to leave this up while we do the Q&A. I'm going to leave this up because what you need to do is you need to send us a 60-day file from Seller Central, your bulk upload report. And so if you follow these instructions while you're listening to the Q&A, it takes us, I don't know, I'm going to say it takes us maybe 2 to 3 days. So today's Tuesday. So I'll say, like, for the most part, by the end of this week, we'll have the assessment done for you. And then in most cases, we try to connect with you, do a 15-minute call, and actually tell you how to use this document, because the document doesn't really do any good if we just send it to you, because you're going to be like, oh, that looks pretty. But like, there's really cool things where you can come in and start filtering things and changing things. And we'll walk you through your report, point out a few things that you may not be aware of within your campaigns. And then we give you the report. That's it. So if you're interested in that, you can download that report and email it to us. So let's jump into Q&A. I always start at the beginning, so people that asked early still get their questions asked. So question number one, what's the max number of keywords per campaign that you recommend?
Oh, yeah, so this is a good one. We don't like to do hundreds and hundreds. We really do follow our data. Whenever we first start off with new campaigns, we do just a handful of keywords in the campaigns, just so we can see what's working. We don't want to overload the campaigns and have a whole rush of wasted ads going right off the bat. We want to kind of start off a little slower and find those terms from the auto-targeting campaign as well, so that we can move those over to the manual campaign after it's been really vetted and it shows that it works.
Yeah. So you want to be keeping your number of keywords, and we've covered this also before, but the number of keywords also comes down to your budget and the cost of your click, right? So if you've got keywords that are $2.50 per click and you've got a $10 per day budget, you better not have a lot of keywords or you're not going to get a lot of traction. If you've got a 50-cent per click and a $10 budget, you still want to keep it low. If you've got 50 cents and $100, you can start to add more. So depending on your budget, depending on the complexity of your product and the spend, determines the number that are put in. The joke that I've made was that I'm going to make a shirt for Brett, and I can make one for you too, that says "It depends," right? Because almost every answer starts with "It depends."
Yeah.
So Dan, I'm gonna just acknowledge your question, but we're gonna skip it, which I think we covered it, which was referring to cleaning out an old campaign and starting over. I think we covered that in the webinar. Next question from Tanner. If you're looking for 20% margin on a product, what is a good, healthy ACoS to have off the top?
So this is a good one. If your margin is 20%, you can have a break-even ACoS of about 20% as well. But if you're looking to be more aggressive, if this is a new product, you may want to go at a loss to get more traffic immediately, go for 25, 30% possibly. But if you're looking to remain profitable, you want to have lower than 20% on that. And that'll make sure that you're actually getting a good reach while still remaining profitable too.
All right, great question from Noel. Why would anyone set up advertising to be anywhere except the top of the page?
Ooh, I've never been asked this before. This is a good question.
It is a good question.
Because the thing is, Noel, sometimes products actually convert better on product pages or other placements. If you actually look at your placement report, you'd be surprised that a lot of your campaigns may actually have better, conversion rates on the product page or other placements. So it really just depends on where it works best for the ad and for that product, and especially the category, because it may be really expensive to get top of page and you may not convert at a good rate. So it may not be worth your time and your money to get that top of page placement.
And your competitors, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you may just not be able to compete at the top of the page depending on who your competitors are, but that doesn't mean that. Now, obviously, everybody wants to be at the top of the page. So there's a difference between where everybody wants to be and where you can afford to be. And that's a different discussion, but it was actually a great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Dan wants to know, is it better to have multiple products within a single campaign or a different campaign for each product?
It just depends on how you're grouping your products. If you sell 135 different types of socks, but the only variation is the color, you could just have one campaign and have one ad group for each color variation instead. And that way you can still see what color variation is doing the best. You can get very specific terms. If someone's looking for purple socks only, you can target just for purple socks. So you can kind of do both. I'm more of the fan of not having hundreds of campaigns running, but instead having really creatively built campaigns that may have common similarities between the products that are inside of them, but still using SKU-based ad group systems within those.
So Jay wants to know why. I think earlier you mentioned pausing a keyword. He wants to know, why would you pause a keyword that's not performing? He's trying to figure out the benefit of pausing versus adding it to be a negative.
So think about negating as we're a little further out. Like you're saying, I never want to show up for this or any type of variation of that ever in the future. Pausing it is mainly just saying, I've tried this, I've targeted this very specific term. I know this specific term does not work. You can just pause it. If you want to double down, you can also set it as like a negative exact if you want to. But most of the time, since you're causing that traffic to come through as a keyword, you can just pause it and you won't see any of that coming through later unless you're targeting a similar keyword somewhere else.
Okay, so how frequently do you recommend making new campaigns? How often with your clients after you kind of go through the initial setup phase are you actually making new campaigns?
I mean, honestly, if you make a campaign that is scalable, you don't have to make new campaigns as often. It is something that we come back, and of course, we're always looking at re-strategizing our clients' accounts and making sure that the campaigns are set up for success in the future. If we have new products launched, we set up new campaigns, of course. If we're adding new products, we can add those to some of the existing campaigns, though. So I'd say look at it, once or twice a year, possibly. If you set your campaigns up to scale, you shouldn't have to worry about making new campaigns for quite some time.
Okay. And obviously, part of that answer is if you launch a new product, that's when you create a new campaign.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So should we keep those keywords that are already leading our listing on the top 3 of the organic search? So if I have a keyword, I have a product, and I guess my main keyword in the title is I'm ranking number 1, should I also buy an ad? I think that's what he's asking.
I'm a fan of being defensive, because if you're not buying out that placement, if you're not going after that ad placement, a competitor can, and that can take away from your traffic. It really depends on how much you want to put into it. If it is just way too competitive, it's way too high, like it costs 3 times your average cost per click or something of that nature, maybe reconsider that. But I think everybody on my team is of the sense that it's okay to be defensive, especially if it's a brand name. Most of the time, if you have a very strong brand, you'll rank organically for that. But by bidding on your brand name as well, you're preventing competitors from taking that placement away from you, because if they take it away from you, they can be seen first before you're actually showing up for that one. And a customer could always go for the first thing they see sometimes. That's still a mentality that some of the shoppers have.
Okay, so I don't know if you know the answer. If you don't, I'd be happy to give the answer. This person wants to know when you're using the Amazon bid optimizations where you say, I want to increase my bid, you have the choice of increasing it up to 900%. What data is Amazon using to calculate that bid, and how much they're willing to increase your bid? So you say, I want to go up by 100%. How are they deciding what level they want to go up to?
I'll let you, because honestly, I thought it was just based on the dependency of the possibility of conversion. Like
yeah, so conversion's a big part of it. Basically, what you're telling Amazon, I'll just use really simple math because I'm not good at math. What you're telling Amazon is that I have $1 bid and I'm willing to bid up to 100% more. So I'm willing to bid $2 for that. If Amazon believes that that your product has a greater likelihood of converting to a sale, they will bid you up to $2 to get that sale. So it's basically changing the competitiveness of the market, because you're not just bidding $1 now, you're bidding up to $2. Now, if your competitor is bidding 90 cents and they're going up by 100%, you might only pay $1.81 to have that additional placement. It's not an exact science, and Amazon doesn't give us enough data to truly know exactly what's going on. But that's in short how it works. It's basically like a bonus multiplier where Amazon is saying, hey, if we think we can get you a sale, how much are you really willing to pay for this click? Let's see here. If we run our own brand and have a unique product, basically all of them kind of fall under the same category and same style with a small variation. Is it best to create an umbrella of keywords or still break them up?
So one more time. So you're saying breaking out the actual keywords?
I think I'm going to chalk this up to it depends, and we don't have enough information to answer this. But she was asking, like, she has a brand with a unique product, and so everything falls under one category and one product. I think the easy answer is it depends. The more difficult answer is like, let's say you sell hats. Well, are they all baseball caps, or are they also sun visors? Can you create anything to create a variation? Is there color that you can create a variation on? Is there size you can create a variation on? Is there some type of, logo or something on it that you can create a variation on? So you have to kind of look at that holistic picture to understand what it means.
Yeah, I agree. I usually also say use auto-targeting campaigns to see if people are searching for each of those variations differently. Use some of Amazon's data to see if there's variances in the search trends that are coming through.
All right, I got two more questions. The second to last one is there a way to avoid your ASINs? Is there a way to avoid particular ASINs within an auto campaign? So an auto campaign is showing your product on a competitor's page and you don't want to show up on that page. Can you negative an ASIN?
Not yet, no, sadly.
That is something we've talked to Amazon about. Yeah, you can target an ASIN, but you cannot negative an ASIN.
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, very unfortunately.
And the last question is the fact that ACOS includes other sales is misleading. So I think they're talking about that your ACOS is not only for the sale of that product, I'm guessing. So I think they're talking about the other sales part of the report, right? So when you're looking at the sales of an ASIN in your conversion reports, you're going to see like you advertised for product ABC, but you actually sold product DEF because you might have variations. So does that play into how you look at ACOS, and have you noticed anything that would indicate that that's something that should be a concern?
No, not necessarily, because it's based off of what's being advertised. I haven't really thought about that. Actually, I want to circle back with the team and look at that.
So I know that's something. I know that's something that. I know that's something that Brett and I have talked about, and I know that I'm not sure if that's a report within the assessment, but I know that's something that can be looked at, and essentially, if you see that people are going to a particular ad and they're buying something else, the question is, what are you targeting that's wrong?
Right.
And so it's one of those deeper, like you have to go deeper and take it,
Oh yeah.
one step further.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a really nice deep dive that we can do and do some assessments on some of the campaigns we're currently running and look at that and kind of dig into that data.
Yeah.
It's got me thinking now. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good. So what I would like to do is I'd like to ask you a question. Oh, wait, hold on. Brett just gave an answer. Let's see what he said. It's not in the report. Okay. It's in a deeper assessment
Yeah.
that they do when people come on board. Okay. I got one last question. And that question really is, how did we do today? If you've been on one of my webinars before, you know that my salary is dependent on the results of this survey. So if we did great, like a 5, go ahead and tell us. If we did really bad, like a 1, you can email me. So don't put it in the poll because that tells my boss. You can email me. What? I can violate the rules. I don't have terms of service like Amazon does. But my email is readily available. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find my email. I don't make it so easy as to tell you my email, but it's easy to find my email. My name is Jeff, and I work at Seller Labs. So I think you can figure it out. Now, we like to get this feedback because this feedback helps us to make better webinars for the future. So if you have any suggestions, recommendations, or things you'd like to see us cover in the future, please add it into the chat box so we can consider adding that into the future. Not adding it into the future, but adding it when we are in the future.
Yeah.
I'm going to just stop talking because I guess I've been talking too long. Would like to thank everybody for their time today. I'd like to thank Ed for joining us and sharing in so much wisdom and knowledge. Remember, the CAT survey is a free survey, a free assessment that we do of your tool. And we'd be happy to do follow-up and share the information with you. So go ahead and follow the instructions and send that to us. And if you have any other additional questions or concerns, you can always reach out to any of your customer success specialists at Seller Labs who would be happy to assist you. Everyone have a great Tuesday, a great March, and a great spring.
Thanks, guys.